I anticipate Liverpool pushing for a title charge next season, and obviously a key part of that will be Darwin Núñez performing. So which player will light up the Premier League in their second season? So we look at the likes of Jack Grealish this season, and some might say that the fact that his price tag was so high encouraged people to be overly critical of his performances in his first season, and to some extent I'd agree with that. But there is no denying that Jack Grealish has been a completely different player this season than in his first season. And for me, he is my pick for the most improved player from last season to this season. And it got me thinking, what player is going to be the most improved from this season to next season? Here to discuss that with me is my good friend Sani, that sports guy. The link to his YouTube channel is in the description below. So if you're not already following him, what are you doing? Sani, for you, which player do you think could take the Premier League by storm in their second season?
Pains me to say this, being a Manchester United fan, but it has to be Darwin Núñez. People are going to be thinking, oh, but he misses a lot of chances. He's this, he's that. But if we look at Darwin Núñez this season, he has a lot of chances. In terms of XA, so chances created and expected goals, he's quite high on that list. I love those sort of stats. The positions he gets into, for a striker, unbelievable. We already know what he brings to the team as a whole with the pressing that he has, the energy, everything else. I think next season is the season where we see Darwin Núñez at his best. I'm not saying he's going to have a Haaland-type season, because that's what killed him, let's be honest. Him getting compared to Haaland is where it all kind of started.
Especially after the Community Shield, wasn't it? I think like Haaland had, not a stinker, but he didn't really have much of a game. And then obviously Darwin Núñez scored the goal in that match, and everyone went, yeah, that's going to be it. It's going to be the season of Haaland and Darwin Núñez. And it, obviously it didn't transpire to be that, but I'd very much agree with you, I'd very much agree with you in the way that I think that, look, it's no secret, I've already said, I anticipate Liverpool pushing for a title charge next season, and obviously a key part of that will be Darwin Núñez performing. So if my predictions are right, which let's be honest, when aren't they? Obviously Darwin Núñez is going to have a good season, but obviously there's other contenders in the hat. And this is one thing I would say before we move on to them. Having a bad first season, as Jack Grealish proved, doesn't always mean that you're not going to go on to bigger and better things and take a season by storm next time out. I mean, personally, as a Chelsea fan, Didier Drogba, not a lot of people remember this. Didier Drogba was sort of downtrodden by a few pundits after his first season as, yeah, you know, target man and whatever, but he can't do over here what he was able to do with Marseille in the French league. And actually, second season, you see him really, really come into his own. Luka Modric. I mean, for me, the Real Madrid and the Barcelona fans, they're not worth speaking about. The way that they treat their players, the fan base is so expectant, so entitled, I can't even deal with it. But Luka Modric was named in the flop team of the season after his first...
Yeah, worst signing.
Worst signing of the season after he signed for Real Madrid. And now look at what he's done. He has gone on to win that club trophy after trophy after trophy.
Even Thierry Henry, Joey, when he came in, people were thinking, oh, why has this player been signed for Arsenal? He's, you know, fine, he was playing on the left wing for a bit, but he didn't have the best season at Arsenal until afterwards.
Speaking of Arsenal wingers, Robert Pires, he was one that didn't have a great first season. So we look at that, and it by all means gives weight to the fact that we're saying that just because you don't have a brilliant first season, remember, bear in mind, you're not going into the Portuguese league, you're not going into the French league. The Premier League is the hardest league in the world to come in and hit the ground running in. If we take Darwin Núñez out of the question, let's have a look at the chasing pack. So for me, straight away, I'm going to say that I expect Madueke to have a good season next year and Broa to have a good season next year. The reason I wouldn't put them up as contenders is they haven't had a bad season this year. The main one, obviously, the glaring one for Chelsea would be Mudryk. Mudryk is a player that I believe, as and when Pochettino gets announced, he could really bring the best out of Mykhailo Mudryk. And I'd really like to see him do it because he's a player that has worn his heart on his sleeve since coming to the club. He's a player that has showed glimpses of brilliance in moments, but generally just not the most confident type of player. And that is obviously something in a young player. You want that brashness and arrogance, and you almost want to have to sort of tailor it in and compress that a little bit rather than trying to urge him to bring that out. But maybe as he settles into life in London and becomes more comfortable with the culture, maybe that will come out of him. Is there anyone that you can think of?
I think you've missed the obvious one, Cucurella. I don't know why you haven't mentioned him, but yeah, I think
I'll tell you now, Cucurella will be just as bad Cucurella will be just as bad in his second season as he in his oh fuck it, I'm not. That's what happens to me when I talk about Cucurella. Leaving that in.
Right. No, I think from Man United perspective, I think Antony's the obvious one.
Yep.
Came in for what, nearly £100 million, well, euros. He's had an all right season. He's clearly left-footed, as we know. Like, never uses his right foot. But he's no Iron Robin, let's be honest. I think he's the obvious one. Hopefully he has a better second season. You know, at the end of the day, Eric Ten Hag's the reason why he came into the club. Man United didn't want to sign him. It was Eric Ten Hag, because we had a right winger at the club, Sancho, who everyone was thinking he's going to be playing there sort of thing. But listen, Anthony is going to have a good season next year. Otherwise, comfortable conversation is going to be had.
The name you just mentioned there, Sancho.
Oh, God.
This was his chance to really take the league by storm in his second season. He was obviously sent away for reasons that we completely respect at the start of the season by Ten Hag. Came back, looked like he might have had a little bit of a positional change and like things might have started to pick up for him, but again, has really tailed off. And we've seen moments of brilliance from him. You know, that goal against Manchester City, just to name a few things, but a lot of underwhelming performances and hits and misses with Sancho, and that's another player that we think, you know, you need to do something next season. The problem with that is players like that are signed for higher prices and put on higher wages. They're the worst ones to be able to do anything with if they're underperforming, because their market value and their wage perception, or expectation, I should say, is going to hinder them from getting a move away to like a lower club. And then what happens is it becomes a business situation where, okay, they can't get the move away because no one's prepared to pay the wages and no one's prepared to pay the fee, because Man United ultimately are a business, especially under the Glazers, and they want to recoup some of the money they've put into him. So they just end up going stale at Carrington and just, you know, not even getting on the pitch and getting minutes. So he's one next season that really needs to push on and really needs to fight for his place in that team. 1,000,000%. And just before I go into the actual players, just a quick thing with Sancho is, you know, I don't want to negate anybody that doesn't go to Man United games, but I go to a lot of Man United games, and I just don't think Sancho, for me, shows enough that I think we need to keep him. And listen, you're right. We're probably going to keep him this summer. For me, I'd sell him this summer because we got good players coming through, like a Garnacho. Diallo's going to come back. Give the young players an opportunity. But I think with Sancho, I just don't think he shows enough for me to think that, yes, you need to stay at Manchester United. And it comes a stage where players like this, talented players, you just need to kind of say goodbye to. But anyway, Anthony is the player that hopefully has a better second season, but obvious candidates, Richarlison, Mr. Well, he
Pigeon.
can't have a worse season, can he?
Unbelievable.
I mean, unless he falls over and breaks his leg doing an old flip-flap or a kick-up against Nottingham Forest. Thing is, he was magic in the World Cup almost, wasn't he?
I know.
Good in that system for Brazil. And maybe, being that I anticipate Harry Kane going, maybe he'll step up to the plate. Another name we haven't mentioned there, we spoke about Anthony. What about Anthony Gordon?
Oh, yeah.
Anthony Gordon, and do you know what? I think he's been underwhelming since coming into Newcastle. I didn't want Chelsea to sign him for the price tag we put on him, and I'm glad we didn't sign him. But as we've spoke about in Newcastle, they rarely get it wrong. And I would not be at all surprised if Eddie Howe turns him into a top player next season.
No, of course. I think you're right. He, again, had a lot of promise going into this season. Obviously, then he got his big move. He needs a big season next year, let's be honest. For the promise that he's shown and for the way people talk about him, he definitely has to show. But speaking of another young player, Damsgaard's another one.
He's been poor. No goals, no assists. Brought in after, obviously, a strong performance in Euro 2020. He looked good. He scored that free kick against England.
Yeah.
And you sort of thought straight away, the easy comparison to make was, okay, Danish midfielder comes in, Eriksen goes, he comes in. There you go, perfect fit. And it's it's almost looked like a square peg in a round hole with Damsgaard. So he's another one that I look at when I think about Mudryk and I say about the confidence thing. Another one I look at and I think, yeah, you could be low on confidence, you know. Not due to him underperforming, but down to injury. Diego Carlos, I think, for Aston Villa. I think that would be a key one next season. So there's plenty of names in there. I would be very interested to know who you guys think is going to take the league by storm in their second season. Let us know in the comments. As soon as this video drops, I will be in the comments. I'll be replying to everyone that comments on this video. So please, please, please join this growing community. Drop a comment, subscribe to my channel, and Sani's link to his YouTube page is in the bio to this video. So head over there and give him a subscribe, and I will see you lot all in the next one.